After discovering my husband's affair, I left. "You're destroying this family over a misunderstanding," my mother-in-law shouted, standing in my parents' house. "This is damaging our reputation," my father-in-law muttered, clearing his throat. "I have something to say too. You could claim that Garrett was drawn to me because of my portfolio, or because of the pitch I gave while wearing heels in a thunderstorm. But the truth is, he liked my face. That's what he said. You've got one of those faces I could wake up to forever." He laughed when he said it, as though it was charming. At the time, I convinced myself that it was. We were working together on a campaign between my agency and his supplement company. I led the client strategy, and he was in charge of sales. Our interactions were strictly professional until they weren't. By the time he asked me out for coffee, I was already packing up my desk. I had just submitted my resignation, ready to exchange the fluorescent office grind for the freedom of freelance life. I imagined mornings filled with almond milk lattes and creative flow. I'd take on projects I genuinely cared about, be present for our future child, and work in sweatpants whenever I pleased. It was a fantasy, sure, but it was mine. He slipped into that fantasy as though he belonged there. Attentive, sweet, his hands always warm, his voice reassuring. He'd text me articles about productivity hacks and send photos of dogs in suits, saying, "This will be us one day, power couple and pug." I fell for it quickly. We got married in a spring ceremony in Asheville. Cherry blossoms, string quartet, mason jars, Pinterest perfection. I wore white. He wore pride. And beneath it all, a crack was already forming. After the wedding, Garrett returned to his job while I set up my home office, eager to begin my new chapter. What felt like liberation to me appeared as laziness to everyone else in his orbit, especially to Marka, his mother. Marka was the type of woman who believed productivity meant putting on lipstick before 8 a.m. and never using the word rest. She had opinions about everything: my hair, my online gigs, my decision not to rejoin the workforce in a traditional office. At first, I laughed it off, thinking maybe she was just overbearing in a southern way, but it quickly became toxic. Whenever we visited, Garrett received the royal treatment. She'd greet him at the door with lemon bars and a hug that lasted too long. Me? I might get a nod if I was lucky. I once complimented her hydrangeas, and she said, "At least you noticed something productive." Nice. Bill, Garrett's dad, was the opposite. Quiet, observant, warm in a way that almost felt apologetic. He liked hearing about my work: UX design, branding packages, freelance clients from 3 time zones. He even asked me to help him set up a blog to document his vintage guitar collection. It was the only time I saw him light up. At dinner, Marka would drop subtle bombs. I just don't understand women these days. Home all day, no commute, no boss. Must be nice. Garrett would smile into his plate. Never once did he speak up. Not when she questioned my work ethic. Not when she joked that I must spend more time in pajamas than at a desk. Not even when she snidely asked if I was trying to be a trophy wife without the body. I tried to talk to him. "She's just old-fashioned," he said, picking at his phone. "Don't take it personally." "I'm not taking it personally," I said. "I'm taking it seriously." He didn't look up. "You're overreacting again." It was like being slowly erased. Not hated, just dismissed, like I was background noise in my own life. One weekend, Garrett invited me to his parents' place for brunch. I hesitated. I had deadlines. More importantly, I had dignity, but he insisted. "It's just brunch," he said. "Try to smile this time." So, I went as usual. Marka greeted Garrett with a tray of fresh-baked scones and a double kiss. I got a glance. No coffee, no plate. Bill gave me a nod and gestured toward the back porch where he was setting up his laptop. "You still got time to help me with that blog, Avery?" "Of course," I said, grateful for the escape. We sat outside for an hour. I showed him how to format posts, tag photos, and connect a domain. He was genuinely interested and asked smart questions. At one point, he said, "This stuff's a lot more complicated than it looks. You're really good at this." I smiled. "Thank you. That means a lot." That's when Marka poked her head out. "You know, Bill, I could do all that typing if I had time to waste, too." It wasn't even passive-aggressive anymore. It was just aggressive. I gave her a polite smile. "Typing's easy. Thinking isn't." She didn't respond, just turned and disappeared. That night, back home, I tried again. "I don't want to go over there anymore," I said. "She hates me, Garrett, and you let her." "She doesn't hate you," he said, tossing his keys into the bowl. "She just thinks you could try harder." "Harder at what?" "Earning respect. That's not something I should have to buy with suffering." He rolled his eyes. "You've got this whole victim complex. It's exhausting." I wanted to scream. Instead, I went to the bedroom and closed the door. A few days later, I was brushing my teeth when I saw Garrett's phone light up on the bathroom counter. The message preview was impossible to ignore. Still thinking about last night. "Your lips are dangerous." I froze. I didn't intend to read it, but my hand moved before my brain could intervene. I opened the thread. "Can't wait to do it again. She doesn't know how lucky she is to have you. Meet me at the Marriott again." I stood there, toothbrush in hand, reading betrayal after betrayal. And the kicker, this wasn't one woman. There were three. 3 different names, all from his office. One even sent a picture I wish I could unsee. I didn't cry. I didn't break anything. I calmly opened my camera, took photos of every thread, and airdropped them to my laptop. That night, Garrett returned home like nothing was wrong. He kicked off his shoes, plopped onto the couch, and shouted, "My dad's cooking Sunday dinner. You coming?" I looked at him from across the room. "Sure," I said, and smiled. "Great," Garrett replied, already halfway to the bedroom to change. "6 Mao. Don't be weird." He said it like I was the one always ruining things, like I was the unpredictable element in his otherwise perfect little ecosystem. I watched him from the doorway, wondering what it felt like to live so shamelessly, so free of doubt, of guilt, of conscience. The rest of the week passed in a performance of normalcy. He whistled through his morning routines, threw out half-hearted compliments over dinner, even called me babe once, like it was still 2020 and we were pretending to be in love. I nodded. I smiled. I played my part. But I never let go of the thought tucked tightly behind my teeth. He doesn't know I know. Sunday arrived with chirping birds and a migraine. Garrett dressed like it was a job interview, his shirt ironed and cologne heavy enough to be called a defense mechanism. I chose a neutral outfit and packed a folder in my purse labeled receipts, which for once wasn't a metaphor. He didn't notice. "Ready?" he asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." The drive was short, but the silence felt long. He hummed tunelessly to fill it. I stared out the window, watching the trees roll by like polite strangers. When we pulled into his parents' driveway, Marka was already at the door, lips painted, hair sprayed into obedient waves. She opened it like we were late to something important. "My boy," she cooed, embracing Garrett as if he'd returned from combat. Her eyes slid to me like a windshield wiper clearing fog. "Shoes off, please. I just had the floors done inside." Everything was painfully curated. Fresh flowers, linen napkins, matching dishes. The kind of effort meant for appearances, not affection. Garrett was handed a warm mug of tea and led to the kitchen like a favored prince. I hung up my coat and followed the scent of roast beef to the dining room, where Bill was lighting candles, with all the enthusiasm of a man preparing for his own funeral. Dinner was slow. too slow. Marka floated between courses like a talk show host, guiding every conversation toward herself. When I offered a story about a new client, she interrupted to talk about a neighbor's gallbladder surgery. When I tried to ask Bill how his retirement was going, she redirected with, "Did you hear about that girl Garrett dated in high school? The blonde one who taught Sunday school. She's married now." "Still so polite?" Garrett chuckled. "Oh, yeah, Chelsea." I didn't speak again for the rest of the meal. After dessert, Garrett made a big show of helping with the dishes, rinsing 3 plates and calling it a day. "She was fine today," he said on the drive back. "You have to admit she was trying. She compared me to your ex. She didn't name you. Don't take everything so personally." I stared out the window. I'm married to her son. I think it's personal by default. "You know what your problem is?" he said. "You want people to hate you so you can be the victim. And you want people to adore you so you don't have to have a spine." He didn't respond. Not verbally, anyway. He gripped the steering wheel tighter and turned up the heat. That night, back home, I sat on the couch staring at nothing while Garrett scrolled through his phone. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. My silence was loud enough. Then, unprompted, he spoke. "You're really going to make this a thing, huh?" "What thing?" "My family. My mom. You're always so defensive. It's exhausting." "I defend myself because no one else will," he scoffed. "You make everything about you." I turned to him slowly. "Garrett, she treats me like a stray dog. You let her." He put his phone down. "You're impossible." "No, I'm just done pretending this is normal." He stood up, hands clenched. "Maybe if you weren't so uptight and insecure all the time, we'd be fine. And maybe if you weren't sleeping with your coworkers, I'd feel secure." That shut him up. His mouth opened, closed. He looked like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar. "What did you just say?" he muttered. "You heard me. Where are you getting this?" I tilted my head. "From your phone, which you keep unlocked in the bathroom, by the way." He stepped forward. "You went through my phone?" I didn't have to. It was just there, and so was she. And the other one, and the one with the heart emojis and the selfie in the hotel mirror. "You're insane." "No, Garrett. I was blind. There's a difference." He stood frozen, jaw tightening like he was gearing up for a defense. But it didn't come. Instead, he grabbed his keys. "You know what? I'm going to my parents' place. At least they're not completely unhinged." He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the keys on the hook rattled. I stood there for a moment staring at the empty hallway. Then I moved fast. I'd spent months feeling trapped. Months asking myself whether I was the one making everything harder. But now, he had handed me an open door. I pulled out my overnight bag, stuffed it with what I needed: laptop, charger, toothbrush, that envelope with the printouts, and a change of clothes. No ceremony, no nostalgia, no looking back. I locked the door behind me, got in the car, and started the engine before I could second-guess anything. As I pulled away from the curb, I realized this was the first time in our entire marriage that Garrett had walked out before I did, and the last time I would let him come back. My mom's kitchen had always smelled like cinnamon. That morning, though, the scent did nothing to calm me. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around a mug I hadn't taken a sip from. My parents stood across from me, both of them tense in different ways. Mom with pursed lips and pacing, Dad like a mountain carved from quiet rage. "I didn't come here for drama," I said. "I just didn't know where else to go." "You did the right thing," Dad said. "You come home when you need to. That's what family is," I nodded. It wasn't just the way they treated me. "There's more," I said. Mom turned sharply. "More? He cheated on me. Multiple times with women from his office." Her eyes widened. I saw the messages. I took screenshots. I even had a pee. "I can confirm it. It's not some emotional thing. It's physical, ongoing." There was silence, the kind that feels thick, like fog in your throat. Then Dad muttered, "That little coward." Mom sat down across from me, her face pale. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't think he'd be that disgusting. I sighed. Honestly, I wasn't even surprised, just numb. She reached over and gripped my hand. You are never, ever going back to him. I don't plan to. I had barely stood up to stretch when my phone lit up. Garrett. I watched the screen vibrate across the table like a bug scrambling for shelter. Then I picked up. Where are you? He snapped. I think you know. You really ran to your parents, packed up, and bolted the second I stepped out the door. You've done worse in silence, I said. At least I left with a suitcase, not with someone from accounting. He paused. I could hear traffic behind him, or maybe the hum of his mother's living room. So that's it. You're just walking away. I already did. This is going to blow back on both of us. You realize that? Maybe. But one of us deserves it. You don't get to decide when the marriage ends, Avery. That's not how this works. You decided that long before I did. I'm just filing the paperwork. Another silence. Then his voice dipped, softer but edged. You always wanted to make me look like the villain. No, I said. You took care of that yourself. And I hung up. My mom looked up from the sink. That him? Yeah. Do we need to change the locks? Maybe. 3 hours passed. I repacked some things in my bag, made a checklist of the files and devices I'd need from the apartment later, and tried to schedule an appointment with a lawyer. I felt clearer than I had in months. Then came the knock. 3 firm, deliberate taps. My dad answered. His posture stiffened the moment he saw who it was. Garrett stood on the porch, eyes bloodshot and jaw tight. Marcia was beside him in her signature tan coat and scowl, and behind them, awkward and silent, was Bill. I walked to the doorway, arms crossed, still in my worn hoodie and socks. Garrett spoke first. Avery, this is ridiculous. Let's just talk. Marcia pushed past him. We need to resolve this before you cause permanent damage to our family name. My dad stepped between them. She's not going anywhere with you. Marcia rolled her eyes. This is between husband and wife. That's rich, I said, considering you treated me like a maid with a pulse. Bill cleared his throat. I wanted to say something too. Everyone looked at him. I'm sorry, he said, his eyes flicking toward my father. Sir, I'm sorry we didn't stop this earlier. I always respected Avery. I should have said something when I saw how they were treating her. Garrett turned. Dad, come on. No, Garrett, Bill said, his voice growing stronger. You need to hear this. You've been a disgrace. You let your mother belittle your wife in front of everyone. You had affairs, plural. And now you expect sympathy, Marcia gasped. You're taking her side. I'm taking the side of someone who didn't deserve what she got. Then he turned to Marcia. And since we're airing things out... Oh, don't you dare, she started. I know about the affair, Marca. Everyone froze. What? Garrett said. I've known for a while, Bill said, his voice steady, with the manager at the hardware store. You weren't careful. Texts, late-night calls, receipts. It wasn't hard, she snapped. You checked up on me. You gave me every reason to, Bill replied. I've spoken to a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. Garrett looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. You're breaking up this family over some misunderstanding? Marca barked. No, I said quietly. You broke it yourselves. We're just walking out of the wreckage. Marcia looked ready to scream. Garrett just stared at me, mouth slightly open, like he was trying to form a defense, but couldn't find one word that would matter. Eventually, my mom stepped forward and gently closed the front door. We stood in silence for a moment, the 4 of us, me and my parents and Bill on the porch. After a pause, my dad said, They're quite the pair, aren't they? I exhaled, then smiled faintly. They always wanted to be close. Now they've got a 1-bedroom apartment and 2 alimony checks to keep them company. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Your support means the world to me. Let's keep the conversation going. I'd love to hear your thoughts.